So we've also been talking about other species, and one of the ways in which scientists have studied one simple aspect of self in other species is called the mirror test. And so, Your Holiness, this test has been tried with a number of different species, and recently it's been studied in a species that was difficult to do this test in because it required a very, very, very large mirror, and that's elephants. So we can show you how this works. And the way it works is that the elephant is makeup is used to draw an X on the elephant's face. You can see. And so the elephant is now being exposed to a mirror. And so the question is, does the elephant perceive him or herself in the mirror and actually touch the spot that's been marked, which would indicate some rudimentary sense of at least one aspect of self, or do they just respond to as if another elephant was in the mirror? So that's the question. And so we can show you this videotape. So this was some evidence.
One time, a friend of mine, when he feeds the dog, sometimes the dog won't eat, so to make him, eat.
Nice story connected with this. A friend, someone he knew well. This is a true story. He had a dog, and sometimes the dog wouldn't eat. And the one solution this person came up with was to have a big mirror and place it in front of the food, and then the dog feels threatened that some other dog is going to eat and it eats the food.
Right. Oh, that's good. See, the dog would not pass the mirror test.
Yes. Right. The test fails you. The kid.
True mothers.
The dog thinks it's another dog, not itself. Yeah.
Notice, of course, that doesn't mean that the dog doesn't have an embodied sense of self, but it means that it doesn't connect its internal sense of self with anything it can perceive externally in a way that the elephant can, and certain great apes can, and human beings, of course, can, and spend much too much time doing it. Yeah.
Get the mic for Maxi.
But of course, dogs didn't pass the test so far, but there are surprising animals who pass the test, like magpie, the chaka. And dolphins also, it's difficult to do so.
Dolphin da chiu da shaka sin chorus. This is the test pass chiu.
And
differences among animals.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, we want to be careful. It's not necessarily a difference in whether they have an embodied sense of self, but whether they can coordinate, whether they can relate that inner sense of self to what they perceive externally. So it's a second order.
Sense of self in the Of course, I mean, if just one elephant can do it, that doesn't prove anything. So you have to test it on other elephants to make sure that the species pass the test.
Your Holiness, you're such a good scientist, and that was done in the actual study. This is just one example of one of the elephants that had been tested, but there are quite a few that have been tested, and they all passed the test. Yeah. Yeah.